Welcome to the School of Giants podcast, and I am your host, Hopeton Bailey. Well, today I might sound a little bit controversial because I am a strong believer in women in leadership. I believe that women are strong leaders. For example, when I was going to college in Jamaica, my principal was a woman principal, and she was very strong, very charismatic, very potent leader, and she led us very well as students in the college. But today on the podcast, we want to talk about boys, especially in Qatar, and having a boys' day and how much we can develop our boys as leaders. Not to say that we are not interested in the girls becoming leaders as well, because they have potential to become strong leaders. But what can we do for our boys is what we want to discuss on our podcast today. So, once again, welcome to the School of Giants. So, I want to start again. I want to say welcome again to Bron, who, as always, she's always here on our podcast, and we appreciate her presence and her potential as well, and her contribution. And also, welcome to Garth as well. Garth as well. So I'm just gonna start with Bron. So can you tell us, in terms of leadership with your young people, um, girls or boys, what are some of the leadership qualities that you've been seen coming through with your young people of recent time in your school?
My kids have shown a huge display of empathy. As a teacher, I'm a strong voice in the room. I am a controlling teacher. I have very strong leadership in the room. I like to mirror strong leadership as a woman and as a teacher. And I'm probably going to be controversial today myself because of how I feel about this topic today. But one of the things I've seen of late is empathy, my example of it is, as a teacher, I always make sure everybody has a turn. And over the year, the kids have become very accustomed to knowing they're going to get their turn. So turn taking is very important. But a couple of days, I've forgotten particular children because we're combining the kids, preparing for graduation. So we've merged the classes and it's bigger. And I tend to forget one or two. And the kids remind me. And I thank them and I mention to them the importance of always thinking of other people. But I can't begin to tell you, what you ask, their empathy, their need to make sure that the other children have had a turn. Especially I've got two new boys. They remind me because I tend to forget the new kids, they've just arrived. And my students show that empathy. So their leadership skills of empathy really, really grab my heart, and that touches me.
Resonate with you.
Resonates very well with me. Empathy, their empathy.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So over to you now, Garth. What is that leadership quality that you've seen coming through with your student? Be it a girl or boy, female or male student. What's that quality?
As a teacher, as a teacher, one of the things we as teacher do a lot is that sometimes whenever we teach our students, some might not understand the concept, and you always have that student, that particular student or the two students in your lesson be like, Mister, can I explain? Let me explain. And that is showing leadership quality. And I actually give them the chance to go to the whiteboard to explain to their peers. So they do understand from me as a teacher, but there are just some things that they need to hear from their peer, and that is showing what good leadership quality. And I always look forward to that.
I like that.
Yes, and I always look forward to that because, to be honest with you, sometimes I feel like I'm not getting to my student, but a student understand that they can actually go and explain makes me believe, listen, I'm doing my job, how I should be doing my job, and they understand from their peer very well. So sometimes we have to give students that opportunity to go,
Opportunity.
yeah, and actually explain to their
And
peers.
it's developing that leadership skill.
Yes, it is. It is.
That is very important.
Can I add?
For sure.
I like what you're saying. One of the things we have begun is inclusive classrooms. So we have some children with barriers to learning, and I have one boy in particular, two boys actually. The one boy has a brother with special needs. He always remembers the children who need extra support. And then I've got another little boy. He really seems to know when a particular student needs support. He will always tell me, teacher, can I go and fetch my friend? Can I go and fetch this particular child? And he will run down the passage and bring him back to the fold, so to speak. So that's also thoughtfulness, empathy and thoughtfulness.
Yes.
And it does bring a sense of team spirit.
Yes,
to say
definitely.
that
And also
we
a
are
sense
a
of
team and
pride.
we look out for each other.
A sense of pride, because I drive that as a South African. These things matter to me, I think to everybody, but for me, coming from an apartheid situation, this really sits well with me when I see children exercising empathy and thoughtfulness and the will to want to include others that are not as advantaged as them.
For sure. Thank you so much. So I just want to get into our topic today, which is the importance of having a boys' day in our secondary school. How important is that to our boys? Is it necessary? Because I know, for example, here in Qatar, the boys, they are separated from the girls in school, even though it's a co-ed school, but the boys are separated. But is it really important for us to have a day in school where it's just the boys in the school and we can actually cater to their needs a little bit better and show them that we do value their sense of development and also their sense of leadership development. So I know you might have a different say on this, but we have to discuss, yes? And so I'm coming with my first question. So why do you think it's important to create a dedicated Boys' Day in secondary school in Qatar?
For starters,
Yes.
I'm a South African, so I come from a very different background in comparison to the Middle East. I also come from a strong leadership, a country that has a lot of women who are strong leaders. Coming to the Middle East, it is a very male-dominated environment, culture. You feel it as a foreigner in the environment. As a teacher in the classroom, I see it, I feel it. And culturally specific, I would not advocate for a boys' day in this part of the world because this part of the world is male-dominant.
For sure.
So that is where my difference of opinion comes in.
For sure.
As we chat further, I think maybe I'll soften and I will give some pros and cons to it because I have also been a headmistress of boys. I've been a headmistress of a boarding school and I was responsible for growing young men, and I saw how my strength as a woman that I was able to champion the needs of my male students.
For sure.
And their comfort in running to me when they ran into challenges. I'm not particularly convinced that the situation would have been sorted out had it been a man that had to fix the problem that we dealt. Psychologically, emotionally, socially, it was a serious situation, and I think it was my strength of character as a woman, as a mother, and as a leader that was able to dissolve that particular problem I had. And I won't go into specifics
details,
about it, but
sure.
because it's a school program and it was very personal. But in the Middle East, we as educators in the Middle East, I beg to differ
For sure.
on this topic.
I thank you so much, and I appreciate your stance on this particular issue. But before I come to God, I really want to come back to you as well. So I see leadership development in male students as a tool to help them to be guided into the right path. For example, in terms of students with a strong personality, but they are actually behaving in a sense where we could say that their behavior in school is negative towards teaching, towards learning, and so on. So they are going down the wrong path, we could possibly say. So my thinking and idea was, how can we use leadership? How can we use a Boys' Day program to say, okay, you've got a strong personality, but you're actually leading a group of students, because without you knowing, you're actually leading. But how can we now develop you to lead in the right direction?
In that vein, I would say it would probably take a strong woman to help them with the direction that they need to go in. Because at the end of the day, you need to garner skills that enable you to attract the opposite sex, if it is that route they're going. For your Boys' Day that you want to propose, I would motivate. I know it would be breaking barriers in terms of the culture, but that a woman speaker be at that Boys' Day.
For sure.
A set of young ladies be able to communicate. So we know for sure in the Middle East that, the sexes are not encouraged to mix. But I would maybe motivate for a debate across gender on that particular Boys' Day.
Boys' Day.
For them to see what it is they may be doing wrong towards their development, and how it is perceived by the opposite sex.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your opinion, your strong opinion. Thank you. So coming to Garth now. So why do you think, if you think it is, why do you think it's important to create a dedicated Boys' Day in secondary school
Well,
in Qatar?
well, coming from Jamaica, we have had it in all the schools where we have a dedicated day for boys. So it was a good trend, and it played a great role. And just to add to what Bron said, at that Boys' Days, whenever we have Boys' Days, they were actually female speakers as well, who came and actually motivating. But it was boys in school, and it is one of the things it help with students is for them to bond, because we actually do need them to bond. And so I am for Boys' Days, and just to help them, to show them leadership, and I'm also for Girls' Day as well. So just as I am for a Boys' Day, I'm for a Girls' Day. And for Boys' Day, for me here in Qatar, it would be very important. And the same thing we do with the boys, we could do with the girls, in terms of, because I'm thinking about Boys' Day in a whole different sense, in terms of showing them the ropes. So instead of teachers being teachers that day, we could use the head boys to be teachers. We could use the prefect to be principals. We could use the monitor to do pastoral job. So it's the same aspect for the girls as well, because just as how we have a head of secondary who's a male, we have a pastoral leader. My deputy head of academy, she's a female. So if we're doing Girls' Day as well, the deputy head of academy has to be a female on that day for students. And year 11, the head girl. So I am for it, just to show them, just to help them to build their mind, just to see what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, so I'm actually for our Boys' Days and a Girls' Day here in Qatar.
Okay.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I can get from you, what you're saying is that you're a strong advocate of a Boys' Day and a Girls' Day.
Yes, so-
Okay,
yes,
let's make that very clear.
Yes,
I think Bron, on the other hand, is a strong advocate for a Girls' Day.
I'm kind of leaning towards girls and boys, but
Yeah.
if it's specifically conversation for the boys, then I beg to differ, because of the geographical location of how the culture, the manner in which manhood is cultivated here in the Middle East. My early years, I have a 4-year-old that stands up to me. And he speaks to me head on, like a man would speak to me.
Yes.
And I've got to deal him. I've literally got to deal him. But what I do with him is almost, it's beyond his age. It's beyond age appropriate. And I have to, I'm not going to say be the aggressor or the bully, but I encourage him to take his language and turn it around. An example, for our guests to explain better, he will come into the class and he will say something like, "I want that." And I've got to say, "Son, there's a way to get what you need." So because I'm an English teacher, I say to him, "Can we try, may I have?" And then he mimics and he will say, "Miss Bronwyn, may I have?" And that's I say, "No, you may not. You may not." You've got to be able to use language to your advantage to create a sense of decorum between what it is you want, the adult in the room, and yourself. You will have it after you have completed your activity.
Fantastic. And
So-
we always talk about the magic words.
The magic
please
words, but it
and
is
the
in
thank you.
here in the Middle East, these children are accustomed to treating others in a lesser capacity through their manhood. And this is where I beg to differ, because when we speak about a boys' day in the Middle East, and you see how it is, these children are allowed to communicate, it's cultural. So when they then have to deal with us as Westerners, as expats, it's a shock to their system. And it's a complaint to the education ministry that can have us expelled. So this part of the world, we have to pack it in a way that it meets their cultural demands, and it makes them globally aware of how living in their space can be softened when dealing with other cultures.
Sure. Thank you so much. So Garth, coming back to you, you're saying that having a boys' day, in your eyes, you would see where the boys would maybe act as a head of secondary, act as a teacher on that day, and act as maybe boys acting as principal. But how would that promote development for the students themselves?
Or in leadership,
Yes.
as like I said, sometimes their peers, seeing their peers actually explaining something to them in the classroom. So seeing their peer being like either a secondary or a principal actually motivate others to be like, wonder if I will get the chance to do that at one point. So it's not a short term thing. So I'm looking at it more as a long term thing, a long term goal. I want to do that when I go to year 10. I want to do that whenever I go to year 11. So it's a long term thing. So it's motivating others, and there must be a reason why we actually choose these students to act
In
as
this capacity.
yes at this given moment. So it's just motivating others, just to show them that, listen, you can do this, if you have the
possible.
mindset to do it. And also I'm looking at having guest speaker, and as like I said, I'm for both boys and girls there, and I'm for a female to come and speak with the boys and the boys there, and we have male to come and speak with them as well, because we're talking about boys there and not teachers, so are not educators at that given moment. So it's for the students, so we need to make it be for the students. You understand?
Entirely for their development and
Development.
the growth as becoming a strong leader.
Yes.
So thank you so much. So this is my second question, yes, which we want to maybe wrap up on this final question. So what specific challenges do teenage boys face in Qatari secondary school that might be addressed through a Boys' Day initiative? So again, what specific challenges do teenage boys face in secondary schools here in Qatar? That might be addressed through having a boys' day. So we have these boys on the day by themselves. How can we design programs that will cater to them on this day? What challenges do you see?
I'm going to
the
say,
boys
Garth, you go first because you have the teenagers. I will balance off you
Okay.
on this one.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yes.
Um,
So challenges. What are the challenges that you see the boys face daily in our school that could be addressed during a boys'
Um,
day situation?
it's for the most part, it's behavioral problem, and that actually show in their academic. So if you're not behaving right, listen, this is your results. Your results we won't add up. But sometimes they actually follow each other, try to be like a class clown. But listen, man, I've teach so many students. I have this student who I was teaching his years 11. I've behavioral issue with him, but whenever he do a mock exam, he's getting a grade 5, grade 6. But
Wow.
and he doesn't go to class regularly. So I know with speaking with them on that particular day, just to give them that source of comfort. Because listen, you're here alone, we're here, so let's try to just be realistic. Let's try to take off a teacher for a minute. Because we have to do that as well.
For
So
sure.
sometimes as teacher, we have to take off a teacher for a minute, try to be in their place, because remember we were student once. So some of the time I give my student the benefit of the doubt. So I'll be like, listen, I was a student once, and what you're doing I did, but there's no reason for you to be continually doing it. So it's that. So we need to address those issues. Listen, be a leader, not a follower. Yeah, so we have to make that
And
clear.
when you say being a leader and not a follower, is for me is you because most of the boys they are leaders, but the thing is, are you leading in the right direction? That is my big thing. So for me, and this is the reason why I thought about having a boys' day, so we can actually reach out to them a little bit more and touch them, so that they can actually see that okay, I'm strong. I've got a strong mentality as a boy naturally, but and I am leading. What are the values that I'm trying to actually develop into the people that are actually following me? Am I a good leader? Am I leading in the right direction? Okay, can I get someone to help me to actually develop that skill in me to lead in the right direction? Show me the path that is important for me.
Yeah, and I do agree, because you saying that now, I remember this year 11 student. I am responsible for the boys student council. So whenever I have meeting with them, there's this year 11 boy. He display positive, great leadership.
Sure.
He's naturally a leader, and he display that. He's like, let's try this, and he's being very realistic with stuff. So let me just give you an example. So I remember we had a meeting and we were discussing about. Yeah, I asked him a few questions, because after I asked him what are the issues, what are the problem, what could we fix, how could we do this, because I have to report to SLT.
For sure.
So I remember we had this conversation, and he was like, we have a 50-minute lesson, as you know. So he was like, Mister, why not the last 5 minutes of every lesson? We start the lesson like in 45 minutes, and the last 5 minutes we get students to organize the class, take up the garbage, put the class in place for the next teacher.
For sure.
And that is showing great leadership
That's
quality.
great leadership.
So his mind is actually there. He's like,
Constructive
yeah. So
thinking.
his mind is there, and he's looking out for us as teachers as well, because it's not good whenever you walk into a class and the class is a mess for you to teach.
Sure.
Listen,
Yep.
your
And
mind.
I don't want to cut you, but the important thing about this now is this great quality that is within this student is, I think, like having a boys' day will give us the opportunity for this student to actually get a chance to impart these qualities to the other male students in the school. And I think that would be very powerful.
Yes, and I do agree.
Yes. So thank you so much, guys. We're coming back to Bron. Yes.
In terms of
Yes.
challenges, communication. Look, my kids are only 4 and 5, but I have a little boy who battles to communicate. He'll come to me. So just yesterday, or day before, I told him, you've got to go and sort it out. And it was difficult for him. And he moaned and he groaned. And I said, go back. Go back to your friends and get the ball. Because he was complaining. One chappie brought a ball, a leather soccer ball. And I took all the furniture out the room, and because we in the Middle East, for the sake of our viewers in Jamaica, we literally cannot go out of the room when it's hot. So I moved all the furniture out, and I said to the boys, okay, go for it, let's kick the ball. One of my boys, I was very impressed. He wanted to play, but he's a very soft-natured boy. And I encouraged him. When he came to complain, they don't want to give me the ball, I said, the ball is round. You got to go and fetch it. And no hands involved. So he battled to communicate to the other little boys. And I can well imagine if he's having, this challenge now, it just continues into life. If they don't have language, if they don't have the social skill. So, excuse me guys.
Sorry.
Your challenges, I think, boys have, or having, and continue to have, is how to communicate without losing their manhood, that sense of being brave, without having to cower. I would imagine if there was to be a boys' day and I was to be a part of it,
We teach communication.
communication. There are many ways. We don't need to use language. There's many, many ways that we can communicate outside of the spoken word.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So I just want to ask one last question before we wrap up. So what type of activities or programs? I know you've just mentioned some activities. They could look at communication.
I would definitely look at debate.
Debate would be beneficial.
Because I think men need to learn to talk to each other and communicate. And debate is one good way. Instead of a gun, a stick, a kick or a punch, let's talk it out. And I think debate is where it begins, because you get to see how we can use philosophy.
And through debate, they will understand that even if we disagree, we can still
shake hands
agree.
and move
Or
on.
we can still shake hands and move
Exactly.
on. And I think that's
But for
very
me,
powerful.
I would motivate for debate as an activity on the Boys' Day. One of them.
Fantastic. So now the boys' days is important.
Well, it's going to find its way into my heart.
So activities for the boys' day. What are you thinking about for an activity? And I'm well within, believing in this debate.
I'm coming to
competition.
the Boys' Day.
Yes. So
For me,
what's your activity?
For me,
In closing.
For me, debate is one, and I'll do too. As a maths teacher, I always believe in critical thinking,
Okay.
and
Yes.
I'm looking at chess.
Chess
Okay.
game.
Yeah, chess game actually develop human mind, and it's not just any student. It doesn't matter your age.
Yes.
Chess game help you develop your mind.
Cognitive.
So critical thinking is
Critical
important
thinking
from
skills.
chess. Yes, so chess and debate, I'm for.
I have another one.
Boys'
Yes.
days, yes.
Put them all in a boat, white water rafting. We do it in South Africa. Put especially these personalities that do not get along with each other. Put difficult personalities together in a boat and canoe, and let them get onto that water that's choppy, and let them get to the other side. And
So you have to look after
because
each
by the,
other.
Exactly,
Yes.
and by the end of it, they become friends.
They become
They learn how to communicate and
Team-
realize
team
we
spirit,
don't have to
team
like
building.
each other to help each other survive.
Yeah.
for sure. Thank you so much. Once again, it's a pleasure to have you on the School of Giants podcast. You've always been amazing. And to the viewers out there, we thank you for your support. And we think that having a boys' day in secondary school here in Qatar is of vital importance. Thank you. Welcome to the School of Giants. And again, I'm your host, Hopton Bailey. Brian, at the start of our show, you were not too keen on us having a boys' day in secondary schools here in Qatar, but at the end there, you did soften up a little bit. So, a little bit, yes. So, tell us some of the reason why you now may be thinking that we should, and it's possible that we could have a productive day if we have a boys'
Well, after
day.
conversation and, speaking to you gentlemen about your views and your ideas, I like the idea that it could be more inclusive. And if the day serves, like I said earlier, for greater good, that objectives are achieved, the boys come away knowing more than just how to be garish men, and it not just be a boys' club type of thing, but it be a communion, a union of boys with good leadership and,
Sure.
and guests and female guests as well, most important, that
Like female speakers.
female
on the day.
speakers,
For sure.
and maybe like Sheikh Moza, somebody who is a stalwart of what it is to be a modern Muslim woman in the Middle East and what the modern woman looks like in Islam. I think we will achieve much success for greater good if the boys come away learning skills, both soft and hard skills, and they are able to say that the day taught them traits and qualities as to how to be men in a changing Middle East.
And I also know you did mention strongly about communication.
Communication.
Developing the heart, or the boys learning the art of good communication.
Good
skills.
communication and knowing different ways of how to say difficult things.
For sure.
And I've
Thank
got a
you
million
so much.
examples.
I know.
So.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So coming over to Gardner. So I know you are a strong advocate of the boys' day, but you are also thinking there should be a balance. There should be a boys' day and a girls' day. But we're talking about boys' day today. So what are some of the things that you strongly, you are advocating for, the reasons why we should have a boys' day?
A balanced boys' day.
So as like I said in the podcast earlier, we are teaching them, we are developing their leadership qualities to go in the real world. So give them a part of what we do as teachers, as ed teachers, as ed secondary, and so on. So just put them in the role. So we will be there guiding them,
For sure.
but they are really in charge on that given day. So they get that practical sense, and trust me, they will have so much fun in doing it. So much fun they will have in doing it, and they will get to mimic some teacher. Some of them is going to mimic some teacher. So it's all fun. So we're trying to do this to ensure that leadership is developing. Also want them to have much fun as possible, because fun is important.
You learn through fun.
For myself, I do see, having a boys' day very important, because for most part, the boys have strong personalities. They do have strong leadership qualities already, but it's just for me to get them to understand that leadership is not just about leadership, but are you leading in the right direction? So that's my take on the reason why I think a boys' day is important. Get these youngsters to lead in the right direction.